everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar DM, the channel dedicated to breaking down barriers for new players and dungeon masters alike. As always, my name is Howard, and today we're going to be talking about the Wizard class for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Yet another spellcasting class, but this one uses its study and knowledge of the arcane to fuel its magical prowess. Without further ado, let's get into it! Alright, so let's talk about wizards. So, like I said in the intro, wizards are going to get a lot of their spellcasting abilities from their continued study about the arcane. Good examples of this would be any of the wizards from the Harry Potter series. They go to Hogwarts so that way they can learn more about magic and they become more powerful wizards. Makes sense. Now today, in order to break down that wizard, we're going to actually go through a full wizard progression from level 1 to level 20 of the base class, and then we're actually going to go over to the computer and actually go over a first level character sheet for some of our newer players who are just getting into the game and kind of need a little bit more background on kind of what goes on that character sheet. We are not going to cover the different arcane traditions for the wizard because that would turn this particular video into a full-length feature film, and I don't want this to get any longer than it already is because the wizards can be a little bit complicated. If you have any questions about wizards or anything else Dungeons & Dragons in general, make sure you leave a comment down here in the comment section below because I'll be combing that comment section, making sure I'm answering all of your questions. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for the channel because it'll alert you when I eventually make a video about those different arcane traditions about wizards, but we'll also let you know about any other Dungeons & Dragons content that comes out for the channel that might be interesting to you. Now, without further ado, let's actually get into it and let's talk about the wizard. Alright, so wizards at level 1 are going to get a lot of different abilities, so if you need to kind of go back and rewind and stuff like that, that's fine. Just follow along with me as best you can. Now, wizards are going to actually get spellcasting at first level, which makes sense. They are the spellcasting class that gets the access to most spells, which makes sense. Now, we're going to get 3 cantrips at level 1, and we're actually going to get more cantrips as we level, and this is going to be based on a table that can be found in the Player's Handbook, or actually on dndbeyond.com. And I'll leave a link to D&D Beyond for that wizard table for you guys, so that way you can kind of visualize that as we're going through this. We're also going to get 6 first level spells that we're actually going to add to a spell book, which is going to kind of be a repository for our spells. Now, the wizard table is also going to show you how many spell slots you have for level and what level of spell slots that you have. So again, check D&D Beyond, check the Player's Handbook so that way you can see that. At first level, we're actually going to get 2 first level spells for our wizard. Now, we're going to get these back after a long rest, and we're going to be able to prepare a number of wizard spells equal to our intelligence modifier plus our wizard level that we prepare at the beginning of the adventuring day, for that we have a spell level 4 that we can cast. And these spells that we're going to be preparing are actually going to be from that spell book. Intelligence is going to be our spellcasting ability modifier for our wizard. So what this means is that we're actually going to be taking our intelligence modifier and adding them to those equations that we've talked about in other videos for different spellcasting classes. So for example, our spell save DC is going to be calculated based off of 8 plus our proficiency bonus plus our intelligence modifier. Our spell attack bonus is going to be based off of our intelligence modifier plus our proficiency bonus. So those equations don't change, but now we're using our intelligence modifier instead for these particular attributes about spellcasting. We're actually going to also get ritual casting with our wizard, which is going to allow us to cast our spells that aren't prepared as rituals, which is going to be good, provided that we have them in our spell book. We're also going to be able to use a spellcasting focus or a component pouch for our material component. Now, if anything about magic here was kind of confusing, I'm going to leave a link, I think, up here. We actually did a video about magic and the system of magic in Dungeons & Dragons. It's going to be a good in-depth deep dive on the system. So that video is going to be helpful for you there. Certain things are maybe a little bit complicated, but just check out some of the things like the spell save DCs and those kind of rules so that you can get a good handle about the magic system in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, as part of our spellcasting with our wizard, like I said a little bit before, we're actually going to get a spell book, and those 6 first level spells are actually going to be stored in this spell book. We're also going to be able to get more spells as we adventure. So if we come across any spell scrolls, we're going to be able to copy these spell scrolls into our spell book and be able to hold on to those spells in perpetuity, provided that we spend 2 hours and 50 gold pieces for each level of the spell that we're putting in the book. And then we're also actually going to get 2 more spells added to our spell book for free every time that we level up as well as a wizard. Wizards definitely get access to the most spells and are definitely the spell repository for Dungeons & Dragons for sure. At level 1, in addition to spellcasting, we're actually going to get Arcane Recovery. And what Arcane Recovery is going to allow us to do is to recover some spell slots during a short rest instead of the usual long rest that we need. Now, the number of spell slots that we can actually recover on a short rest is going to be equal to half of our wizard level rounded up. Now, this is kind of got some limitations to it, so we can actually recover a certain number of spell slots total. And what I mean by this is that if, say, we're a 12th level wizard, we have 6 levels of spells that we can recover. So in theory, we could recover 3 second level spells. We could recover 2 second level spells and 2 first level spells, because the aggregate of those numbers equals 6. So makes sense. Now, the max spell level that we can recover with this arcane recovery is actually going to be a 6th level spell. So do keep that in mind as you're playing your game. At level 2, we're actually going to be able to pick our Arcane Tradition, which is basically our subclass for our wizard. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on this today because this video would turn into a 3-hour-long video. But basically, from the Player's Handbook, we're going to be able to choose from the following. We're going to be able to pick from Abjuration, Conjuration, Divination, Enchantment, Evocation, Illusion, Necromancy, or Transmutation. And when we pick one of these schools of magic, we're actually going to get some benefits and some bonuses to these particular schools of magic when we cast these spells. So, for example, if we pick Evocation at level 2, we're actually going to be able to cast our evocation spells a little bit better, a little bit differently. We're going to get some bonuses to it. So these are really beneficial to us. And like I said, I will go over these on another time later in the future. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for when those videos come out. But today we're just going to go over the base level wizard here. At level 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19, we're actually going to get ability score improvements, which is basically going to allow us to either add 2 to 1 ability score or add 1 to 2 ability scores. Now, we can also choose a feat here, and there's a number of different feats that can be beneficial for our wizard, like Warcaster or Spell Sniper, but feats are an optional rule, so make sure you talk to your DM to make sure that you're allowed to use feats in your game. But even still, ability score improvements are going to greatly improve your wizard because you're going to be able to improve the spellcasting save DC, you're going to be able to improve the spellcasting attack modifier, you're going to be able to increase your initiative, your AC. There's a number of different benefits you can get from using an ability score improvement as opposed to a feat, so keep that in mind as you're kind of going through your game. At level 18, we're actually going to get Spell Mastery. Now, what Spell Mastery is going to allow us to do is to pick a 1st and a 2nd level spell from our spell book that is also on the wizard spell list. And we're going to be able to cast these spells at their lowest level without expending a spell slot, provided that we have these spells prepared. Now, we can actually change this choice that we make with 8 hours of study if we'd like to change it up a little bit. But this ability is going to be really cool because it's basically going to allow us to spend no spell slots to cast some really cool spells that can be cast at their lowest level, like Web or Grease. Those are really great spells that aren't really affected by what level you cast them at. Now, if you want to upcast a spell, you will have to spend the spell slot for that if you upcast these 1st or 2nd level spells that you have mastery over. So do keep that in mind as you're playing. For our wizard's level 20 capstone ability, we're actually going to get signature spells. And what signature spells is going to allow us to do, kind of like Spell Mastery, is we're going to be able to pick 2 3rd level spells instead. And we're going to always have these spells prepared, which is really cool. Now, these prepared spells are not going to count against our number of spells that we can prepare for the adventuring day. So we're going to have access to 2 more spells, which is really good. And then we can actually cast these spells without using a spell slot once, which is really cool. And then we can actually recharge them after a short or long rest. If we do want to upcast them, we expend the spell slot as normal. But what this basically means is that we can always have Fireball prepared and cast it at 3rd level without expending a spell slot, which is really, really cool. But then we're also going to have Fireball prepared, and it's not going to actually count against our spells prepared, and we can upcast it. And there's a lot of other cool 3rd level spells, but Fireball is kind of like the one stereotypical wizard spell that we like to talk about. But again, signature spells, this is a really cool ability because it's going to allow us to prepare Fireball and other spells like that for free, which is really good. And that's going to actually be our level 1 to 20 progression for our wizard. So now actually let's go over to the computer and break down that 1st level character sheet for our new players. Alright, so now that we're over here at the computer, we can go over that level 1 character sheet like I was talking about before. So now let's see here. We got Horatio. He is a level 1 wizard and he is a human. So first thing we're going to do is actually figure out our ability scores. Now, the reason why we picked human is because a lot of the other races actually give us some really weird abilities, and they actually change up what we're going to do for our ability scores. So I just went human because humans are just going to give us a +1 to all of our ability scores. And our ability scores over here are actually calculated using the standard array for this particular example. Now, you can roll for stats, and there are guides in the Player's Handbook and in D&D Beyond and stuff like that, so make sure you check out those resources. But I just use the standard array, which is the use of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8, and distributing them amongst the ones that we want them to be in, and then adding 1 from our human here. So that's why our intelligence, which is important if you watch the early part of this video, is actually a 16 for a +3 modifier. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to come over here for our hit points. So we're going to get a d6 hit die as a wizard, and we're actually going to take the maximum number that we can roll on that d6 hit die, which is 6, and then add our Constitution modifier to figure out what we can actually have for our hit points. So 6 plus 2, which is our Constitution modifier for this character, is going to make our hit points an 8. Whenever we level up, we're actually going to roll this d6 hit die and then add the Constitution modifier and then see what our hit points are. So we could roll 4 plus 2, we're going to add 6 to this, and that makes that 14. So just to give you an idea of how that kind of breaks down. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go over our proficiencies. So we're going to actually come down here, and we're actually going to be proficient as far as armor is concerned. We're going to actually have no armor proficiencies. So something to keep in mind. Weapon proficiencies, we're actually going to get daggers, darts, slings, if I can put it in the right, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows, if I can spell again. And then for tools, we're not going to get any. So if you've been watching any of the other videos on this channel, you probably are wondering, or maybe you're curious as to why this is. Now, part of the reason is because wizards, their biggest thing that they get as they level up is their spell casting. So the reason that's kind of explains why. Now, other classes get access to spell casting, but not the amount of spells and the broad array that the wizards can get. So something to keep in mind if that's kind of the character and the vein that you want to play. The next thing we're going to do is figure out our saving throws and our other proficiencies. So our proficiency bonus at level 1 is going to be a +2. That's just the way it is for every character in the game. And then we're going to be proficient in intelligence and wisdom saving throws as a wizard. So we're going to have a +5 to our intelligence and a +3 to our wisdom here for this character. And then we're going to come down here, and now we're going to be able to pick between Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion for the different skills that we can pick, that we can have proficiency in. And we're going to be able to pick 2 here as a wizard. So I'm actually going to pick Arcana and let's go with Investigation. I like Investigation. I want my guy to be kind of a studious type who's been someone who's been able to research and do a really good job figuring out little different magical secrets about the arcane. So that's why we're going with that with this guy. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put in our passive perception. Our passive perception here is going to be 11. And the way that's figured out is actually the average roll in a d20 die, which is 10. And we're going to add the +1 from our perception bonus here for our skill to make 11. And this is a number that DMs use. It's not really too important for players, but it's important to have on your sheet in case your DM asks you for it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be able to pick some equipment. So first thing we're going to is the choice between a dagger and a quarterstaff. I'm going to pick a dagger just because it's going to be more useful for this character because he's got a better dexterity bonus than he does a strength bonus. The next thing we're going to be able to pick is a component pouch or an arcane focus. I'm going to pick an arcane focus. There are a lot of them, and you can find them in the player's handbook or on D&D Beyond. They have the listings of equipment. I'm just going to pick a wand because wands just seem cool for me for a wizard, so that's why I'm going to pick that. We're also going to be able to pick between a Scholar's Pack and an Explorer's Pack. I'm just going to pick a Scholar's Pack because, again, keeping in the same vein, he's a studious type. And then we're going to get our spell book, which is going to be our repository for our spells. So now we can actually figure out, believe it or not, our armor class and initiative and all that stuff, because we're not going to get a whole lot of any other bonuses to these things with some of our skills here or the abilities that we get at level 1. So our armor class, now if we're wearing armor, it's going to change things, but because our wizard doesn't have any armor proficiencies, he's not wearing any. So his base armor at level 1 is going to be 10 plus his dexterity bonus, which is going to be 12 total because his dexterity is 2. His initiative is going to be a +2 because, again, dexterity is 2. That's where initiative is driven from. And then his speed is going to be 30 feet because he is a human. Humans move 30 feet. And we'll put that 8 there for the hit points. And then we're going to come down here. We're going to just put the dagger. The attack bonus for the dagger is going to be a +4 because it's going to come from our proficiency bonus plus our dexterity bonus is going to give us that +4. Damage type, we're going to have 1d4 rolled damage plus 2 piercing because we are using a dagger, and we are going to get that +2 again from our attack stat here. And then don't quote me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the range on the dagger is 20, 60. Now 20 meaning the short range, 60 being the long range. If we throw something beyond 20 feet but under 60 feet, we're going to have to actually roll a disadvantage, meaning we're going to roll 2 d20s, take the smallest number, add our attack bonus, see if we hit. If we're within 20 feet, then we're only going to roll once and take that number, add our attack bonus, see if we hit. So pretty self-explanatory there. And then the next thing we're going to do is actually come over here for our abilities, because we're already done with this stuff, so we're already ready for the different abilities we get. So the main ability we get here at level 1, and it's kind of the main ability of the wizard in total, is going to be the spell casting ability. We're going to get 3 cantrips known here at level 1. Now these are going to scale with our level, so again, check the player's handbook, which is over here now apparently because I moved it, and make sure you check D&D Beyond because it'll have that all on a nice table for you guys to look at. We're going to have 6 spells known here at level 1. That's just the base of what the wizard starts out with. and then we're going to be able to prepare a number of spells equal to our intelligence modifier plus our wizard level. So for our guy, that's going to be 4 spells prepared. Then we're going to come down here to the spellcasting section. We're going to ignore this section because this is more of the role-playing backstory kind of stuff, and I just want you to get a good feel of the mechanics part of this game with this wizard. So we're going to come in here. Spellcasting class is going to be wizard. Our spellcasting ability is going to be our intelligence. Our spell save DC is going to be 8 plus our proficiency bonus of 2 plus our intelligence modifier, which is 3. So we're going to get a spell save DC of 13. Spell attack bonus is going to be our +2 from our proficiency, +3 from our spell bonus of that intelligence modifier to make this a +5. We're going to have 3 cantrips known, which I already put down here. And then we're going to have the 6 spells known, and we're going to be able to prep 4 spells prepped. And then we're going to have 2 level 1 spell slots at level 1. And again, this is going to be depicted on the table in the player's handbook again, right here, which I'll put back up there so that way my background isn't so boring. And you can also find that on DnD Beyond as well. And then the last thing we're going to get is actually Arcane Recovery. Now, Arcane Recovery is actually going to give us a certain number of spell slots that we can recover as part of a short rest, where normally it's going to take us a long rest to actually recover our spell slots, which is why I actually added that up here. Now, we're going to actually get 1 here at level 1 because Arcane Recovery is calculated based on your wizard level divided by 2, rounded up. So half of 1 is half, rounded up is 1. So we're going to be able to recover 1 spell slot during a short rest. And this is basically all we're going to need here for our level 1 wizard. We actually have all of our armor class initiative speed. We're going to have all of our abilities here. We have our attacks. We've got our spells that once we pick them. There are a number, again, resources. Check D&D Beyond for those. The only thing we do need to pick before we actually sit down at the table is a background. Now, I'm not going to go over backgrounds here. I did cover them in a video, which I'm going to put a link to that up here. As part of a character creation video. I will cover backgrounds in the future later on the channel, so make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you see it when that video comes out. But again, this is basically it, and let's get off the computer and let's wrap up our discussion about wizards. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap up our discussion about the wizard for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. If you made it all the way to the end, can you please just give me a like on the video because it gives me some good feedback that I was able to engage you guys the whole way through, and then I'm doing something right with these videos. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you guys get notified when the video about backgrounds or maybe some of the arcane traditions about the wizard come out later on in the future. Now, again, if you have any questions on the video or anything else Dungeons & Dragons in general or about wizards, make sure you leave a comment down here in the comment section below. I'll be sure to make sure I comb that comment section and answer all of your questions. I hope you guys learned a lot about the wizard today, and until next time, I'll see y'all soon.